Aspinall has all the potential in the world to go down as the greatest heavyweight of all time by the time his career is said and done. He may just be the fastest, slickest, most powerful, and most well-rounded heavyweight our beloved sport of mixed martial arts has ever seen. His striking is so educated, accurate, and devastating, and he's also great at both wrestling and grappling. Continue watching to learn about the career of interim UFC heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall. Before I get into today's video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more resume reviews. Thus far, I've done Andrikas du Plessis, Magomed Ankalaev, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Bo Nickel, Anthony Johnson, Ilia Topuria, Sean O'Malley, Jack Della Maddalena, TJ Dillashaw, Chris Weidman, Brock Lesnar, Alex Pereira, and now Tom Aspinall. I'll link the others in the description below. Tom Aspinall grew up in Salford, England, and he began training martial arts at age 7, first beginning with Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. He eventually added boxing and wrestling to it, before transitioning to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Aspinall went on to compete in and win the British Open grappling tournaments at the white, blue, purple, and brown belt categories. And he's been coaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu since he was 16 years old, if that tells you how great he was at it early on. Around this time, just after finishing school, Aspinall grew from 5'8" to 6'5" in just 1 year, which kind of explains a lot. I've always wondered why he's a straight-up behemoth compared to his father. He made his amateur MMA debut at 17 years of age in May of 2010, picking up a 98-second Darce choke victory over Alan Harper. His record states he didn't return to the cage for nearly 3 more years, eventually coming back in March of 2013 to pick up an arm triangle choke submission in just 31 seconds over Kristan Bircher. Aspinall's next fight came 6 months later in September of 2013 against Shawn, where he again showed off his impressive grappling. His opponent came out with heavy pressure early, but Aspinall was able to get him down and out-grapple him while landing good ground and pound throughout the opening 3 minutes. Round 2 was going the same way until Aspinall went for an armbar from side control, losing his position and ending up on bottom. Kenny landed good shots of his own from top position, and eventually passed over for a mounted guillotine choke attempt. After escaping the choke, Aspinall nearly had his back taken, but was able to reverse the position and again end up on top, ending the round in a dominant position. Kenny took Aspinall down immediately once the third and final round began, though Tom was able to hip escape and again gain top position, spending much of the round in Kenny's side control and mount. Kenny swept him in the final seconds before being swept himself. This was a very important fight for Tom Aspinall's growth, and by far his toughest test to date at the time. By the fight's end, Aspinall was awarded the unanimous decision victory, and he was now the OMMAC heavyweight champion. Aspinall then picked up a first-round knockout victory over Ryan Hennessy in his first fight of 2014, returning 3 weeks later to challenge 4-0 Tom Bankovics for the FCC heavyweight title. This was the first time Tom really got to show off his striking, landing a thunderous right hand that dropped Bankovics early, stopping the fight just 14 seconds in, and Aspinall just added a third title to his resume. You may have counted only 2, but we'll get to that in a minute. The last fight of Aspinall's amateur career came in May of 2014 when he faced Liam Colley, who he easily pushed back to the fence with a combination, took down, and submitted with an arm triangle choke from the back just 43 seconds into the fight. There was also one other fight Aspinall took part in as an amateur, and it's really strange considering it's not anywhere on his nor his opponent Darren Moore's record. Not on Wikipedia, not on Tapology, and not on SureDog. But there's video evidence of this fight having taken place, and it was uploaded 11 years ago while Aspinall was still an amateur. My guess is it happened somewhere in that 3-year gap between his first and what the record states his second fight was, and the commentators only mentioned one previous fight of his during the fight, so it was probably a second amateur fight. It's just weird no one has counted it. Nonetheless, Aspinall went for an early takedown, more of which secured double underhooks and started drilling nasty knees up the middle to his body. Moore separated and eventually dropped Aspinall with a left hook, following him to the ground before letting him up. Aspinall shot in on another takedown, again being stuffed by Moore, who continued to torture him with vicious knees up the middle. Aspinall finally got him down, Moore returning to his feet off Aspinall's Darce choke attempt. Aspinall ended up getting him down again and didn't let him up this time, raining down heavy punches from top position to secure the KO win at 2:59 of the opening round, claiming the AFC heavyweight title in the process. Following a perfect 7-0 run as an amateur that saw him become a 3-promotion champion, Aspinall made his professional debut in December of 2014 against 1-1 Michal Piszczek. His opponent shot in on an early takedown, which he failed at securing and fell to his back where he ate a number of elbows and route to a 15-second TKO stoppage. After a pro debut that couldn't have gone any better, Aspinall faced 2-0 opponent Ricky King 2 months later in February of 2015 at Bama 18. Aspinall threw a combination to get into King's range, where he immediately tied up with him along the fence. King secured a beautiful suplex throw and put Aspinall on his back. Aspinall, of which shifted his hips and went for King's leg, securing a heel hook submission just 49 seconds into the fight. Aspinall followed this up with another win 5 weeks later at Bama 19, picking up a 9-second knockout over 2-3 Satish Jamal. After improving to 3-0 as a professional inside of just 4 months, Aspinall faced 8-2 Stuart at Bama 21 in June of 2015. Tom opened up the ball with some slick combinations, landing solid leg kicks and good punches to the head before he was taken down 25 seconds in. Aspinall escaped the position and pressed Austin into the fence in search of a takedown of his own, eventually securing it, though Austin got back to his feet quickly. Aspinall continued pressuring Austin, taking him down again, Austin again returning to his feet before he secured a beautiful hip toss. Aspinall didn't accept bottom position, getting back to his feet again, though he was again taken down with the same technique. Austin beat on Aspinall from top position for the remaining second half of round 1. Aspinall momentarily sweeping him with a triangle choke attempt, but being reversed and ending the round on his back. Austin immediately took Aspinall down with a single leg trip once round 2 began, Aspinall again attempting a triangle choke, and then an armbar, but to no avail. Austin tried multiple times to pass the guard of Aspinall, but was unable to, Aspinall of which took the opportunity to get up once it arose. He rained down heavy shots from top turtle position before settling in Austin's half guard, where he continued raining down heavy strikes from top position. Austin ended up wrapping Aspinall's leg up from here and submitted him with a heel hook at 3:59 of round 2. This was of course the first, and in my opinion still to date, the only true defeat of his career. Aspinall rebounded from this defeat 9 months later at FCC 15 when he defeated debuting opponent Adrian Ruskac. He secured an early takedown and worked for an arm triangle choke, Ruskac standing up as he tried to lock it in. Aspinall soon after dropped and stopped Ruskac via TKO 65 seconds into the fight. Sadly, Aspinall's next fight is the last one that I couldn't find a video of. It's upsetting. There's a number of fights from Bama 25 that are available for viewing, but this one unfortunately isn't. Nonetheless, Aspinall returned to the cage 2 months later at Bama 25 to face 12-5 opponent Lucas Barboias, who'd gone 12-2 over his last 14 following a 3-fight losing streak to begin his pro career. Aspinall was DQ'd at 3:33 of round 2 after throwing a 12-6 elbow, so I'm gonna assume that he was winning the fight, because generally disqualifications don't tell the story of who's the better fighter, and in most cases 12-6 elbows are thrown by fighters in dominant positions. But after falling to 4-2, Aspinall returned that next month in June of 2016 to face 3-7 Kamil Bezlak. He was just on point in this fight, landing a pair of right hands to open up the ball, a knee up the middle, and soon after a right hand that floored Bezlak, stopping the fight via KO at 1:16 of round 1. Aspinall went on a hiatus from here, not fighting in an MMA cage for nearly 3 years, though he would make his professional boxing debut in 2017 and pick up a first-round KO. Eventually, Aspinall returned to the MMA cage in February of 2019 to make his Cage Warriors debut at Cage Warriors 101, facing 6-2 Sofian Belkacho at this event. Aspinall looked good in this one without any signs of ring rust, controlling the center and landing a couple solid leg kicks while it lasted. Belkacho went for a leg kick of his own early on in the fight and broke his leg in doing so at 1:21 of the opening round, just like Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman did in 2013 and 2021. Next, Aspinall headlined Cage Warriors 107 in September of 2019, opposing 2-0 Michael Ben Hamoda. Aspinall landed a number of heavy leg kicks early on in the ball, and also a nice cross to the body. He followed up with a 2-punch combination about 1 minute in, dropping Hamoda with the cross and stopping him via TKO 56 seconds in. This performance caught the attention of the UFC brass, and as such Aspinall would make his UFC debut 10 months later, opposing 11-4 Jake Collier. He was intended to make his UFC debut sooner, first being booked against Collier for March, and then Rafael Pessoa in March after Collier pulled out. However, neither fight ended up happening, and he finally made the walk 4 months later, at UFC on ESPN 14. Aspinall landed a heavy right hand early, soon after followed by a vicious knee up the middle, and then a 1-2 that dropped Collier, Aspinall TKOing him just 45 seconds into round 1. Following this epic debut, Aspinall returned 3 months later at UFC Fight Night 179 to face 8-1 Alan Baudot. A skilled and experienced kickboxer he made look slow on the feet, took down, mounted, and TKO'd at 135 of round 1. Tom then faced 30-19 former UFC heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovski in February of 2021 at UFC Fight Night 185. Aspinall rocked Arlovski in the opening 2 minutes of the fight with a ridiculously fast combination and just unloaded on him, landing most of what he threw the former champion's way. It's incredible Arlovski didn't go down from that, because Tom was really beating on him for a minute there. The pace slowed from here, each man landing good punches and exchanges toward the end of the round, and they headed into a second. Aspinall took Arlovski down off a leg kick early in the second and proceeded to take his back and sink in the rear naked choke for the submission win at 109 of round 2. Arlovski went on to win his next 4 straight fights, making it to 6-1 over his last 7 at the time. Now ranked at number 13, Aspinall faced number 14 ranked Sergey Pavlov later that year in September at UFC Fight Night 191, Pavlov of which was 13-2 going in on a 3-fight win streak. Aspinall controlled the center with his striking, defending Spivak's takedown attempt and landing a good knee in the clinch. He landed another before throwing a vicious elbow that dropped Spivak midway through the opening round, following up with more ground strikes for the TKO win at 2:30 of round 1. This win bumped Aspinall up to number 11 in the rankings, where he next fought number 6 ranked former M1 Global and Bellator heavyweight champion Alexander Volkov in UFC Fight Night 204's main event. Volkov of which came into the bout with a record of 34-9 and had just stopped Marcin Tabur's 5-fight win streak in his fight previous. Aspinall landed good punch combinations as well as a few solid leg kicks in the early goings of the contest, securing a body lock trip right into Volkov's side control 45 seconds in. Once settled in Volkov's half guard, Aspinall began raining down vicious punches and elbows from top position. Aspinall tried to wrap up a Kimura about 2 minutes in, but was unable to secure it and landed a knee to Volkov's body followed by an elbow to the head as he was getting up. Aspinall began to pick Volkov apart on the feet before securing a perfectly timed double leg, once again putting the former world champion on his back. Aspinall again attacked with elbows from top position, before wrapping up Volkov's arm and quickly submitting him with a straight armbar at 3:45 of round 1. This was by far his biggest test to date, by far his best, most dangerous opponent to date, and also his most credentialed opponent to date. And Aspinall just ran through him with ease. Volkov had nothing for him. And when you look at what Volkov has done in his career, even recently, this win couldn't have been more impressive. Volkov hadn't been submitted in well over a decade, and he even won the M1 Global Heavyweight title with a triangle choke. Aspinall took Volkov's number 6 spot in the rankings following this win, where he went into his second straight main event opposing number 4 ranked Curtis Blaydes at UFC Fight Night 208 in his home country of London, England. Blaydes of which came in at 16-3 as a professional, having gone 6-1 over his last 7. Unfortunately for the English audience, this one didn't go well for their hometown talent. Aspinall went for a leg kick early on in the contest and tore ligaments in his knee doing so, stopping the fight in its tracks just 15 seconds in with Blaydes the victor via TKO. 364 days later, Aspinall finally returned to headline another UFC London event at UFC Fight Night 224, opposing 24-7 number 10 ranked Marcin Tybura, who'd gone 7-1 over his last 8 going in. Ironically enough, though Aspinall went into his latest fight ranked at number 6, a fight he lost, he went into this one ranked at number 5. Aspinall landed a heavy kick early on and soon after an incredibly quick punch combination, easily evading Tybura's strikes coming his way. He then stepped in for a combination, first throwing an elbow, then a pair of left hands, and finally a splitting right cross that dropped Tybura, Aspinall following up with ground strikes for the TKO win at 1:13 of the opening round. This brings us up to his most recent appearance, where Aspinall fought for the interim UFC Heavyweight Championship 4 months later at UFC 295. The event was originally supposed to feature an undisputed heavyweight title bout between former multi-time UFC Light Heavyweight Champion and current UFC Heavyweight Champion Jon Jones and former 2-time UFC Heavyweight Champion Stipe Miocic. However, Jones was forced from the bout with a shoulder injury, and the UFC decided to create an interim title in his absence, where number 4 ranked Aspinall faced the scariest heavyweight currently on their roster, 18-1 number 2 ranked Sergey Pavlov for the interim UFC Heavyweight Championship, who came into the bout on a 6-fight first-round knockout streak, which is the longest in UFC history. Aspinall opened up the bout with a nasty leg kick, and landed another about 30 seconds in before getting caught with a left hook by Pavlovich. He utilized good footwork that kept him from getting caught again, landing another leg kick before a pair of right hands that floored Pavlovich on the spot. Aspinall then followed up with a couple hammer fists to secure the KO victory at 109 of the first, and he's now the interim UFC Heavyweight Champion. It appears the UFC may have made a mistake in making this fight, as Jon Jones still isn't scheduled for his return, and it seems they're not having the easiest time finding an opponent to challenge him for the interim title. There has recently been news of Aspinall agreeing to fight at UFC 304 in Manchester, England, though an opponent has yet to be named. I think it would be one of 3 names: a rematch with number 5 ranked Curtis Blaydes, a fight with number 2 ranked former interim champion Ciryl Gane, or maybe UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira. Any of those would be fitting matchups, but the problem with this is, considering the interim title has been created and the entire division has been put on hold courtesy of Jon Jones, it weakens the division a bit, because of those 3 names I mentioned, 2 of them are coming off just 1 win following defeats in 2023, and the other has never fought at heavyweight before. And what's really unfortunate for both Aspinall and us fans is that it doesn't look like Jones has much interest in unifying the titles against him. And being a champion without taking the belt from a champion is just unfavorable for anyone's resume, especially a champion like Jon Jones. It's too bad Yelton Almeida lost to Curtis Blaydes, because that would have undoubtedly been the best fight to make right now. Let's just go through the UFC's top 10 heavyweight rankings really quick. Number 10, Tai Tuivasa. He wouldn't have more than a puncher's chance against Aspinall. Number 9, Sergey Pavlov. He already finished him in the first round. Number 8, Marcin Tybura. Already finished him in the first round. Number 7, Yelton Almeida. This is the one guy in the division that I think could be a better grappler than him, but Tom wouldn't let it go to the ground and he would knock him out quickly. Number 6, Alexander Volkov. Already stopped him in the first round. Number 5, Curtis Blaydes. I think we all need to see this rematch, and Curtis, in my opinion, is one of the top 3 most dangerous matchups for him. Number 4, Stipe Miocic. Nearly 42 years old and hasn't fought in over 3 years. Number 3, Sergey Pavlovich. Knocked him out in the first round. Number 2, Ciryl Gane. I do think Ciryl Gane might just be the most dangerous matchup for him at heavyweight. Gane is the one guy I could see keeping up with him on the feet, and he may even be a better striker than Aspinall, but I don't really think Aspinall would have too hard of a time taking him down and finishing him on the ground. Number 1, Tom Aspinall, and then the champion, Jon Jones. I don't even know how this one would go. Jon Jones is hard to gauge at this point, nearly 37 years of age, not having fought in over a year, and having just one fight in the last 4. Though Jones certainly isn't known for ring rust. I mean, he's had a multitude of long absences before. I just hope for Tom Aspinall's sake he gets this fight, or even Stipe. I know Stipe hasn't done anything over the last several years, but at least that's an all-time name he could add to his resume if Jones refuses the fight. I think we all want to see Jones versus Aspinall more than Jones versus Miocic at this point anyways. It's just unfortunate seeing him in this little debacle after winning the interim title. So, let's just do a little recap of Tom Aspinall's career. He's 14-3 as a professional, all 14 wins coming via finish, including a 7-0 amateur tenure, totaling a 21-3 record across 24 MMA fights with 20 finishes. And 2 of those losses are, I won't say questionable, but barely losses. Of his 14 professional wins, 13 came in the opening round. The only one surpassing round 1 saw a finish 69 seconds into the second, and 6 of his 7 amateur wins also came in the first round. He's 31 years of age, having just turned 31 a couple weeks ago, which is literally like a spring chicken for a heavyweight. He's 6'5" with a 78-inch reach, and he weighed over 260 pounds for his latest appearance. He's an absolutely massive heavyweight, and he moves like an incredibly athletic middleweight. I, for one, am very excited to see how Aspinall's career pans out. I just hope his division gets some clarity in a relative amount of time, and I really hope he gets one of those 2 all-time names, Jones or Stipe, within the next year. But if not, I'm sure he'll have no problem building his own legacy. That about does it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like and subscribe, maybe even tap the notification bell. Check out this last one I did on Alex Pereira, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.